How Bitcoin could make war too expensive. Imagine a world where wars are not fought because they're simply too expensive to pay for, where governments can no longer print money out of thin air to fund destruction, where the true cost of violence is exposed in real time for everyone to see. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a utopian dream. This is the hidden story of Bitcoin and how it could fundamentally change the economics of war itself. To understand why, we need to step back and look at how wars are actually paid for today. Because contrary to what you might think, wars are rarely funded by taxes alone. The truth is far darker. Throughout history, from the Roman Empire to modern superpowers, leaders have always found one trick to finance war: debasing the currency. Rome clipped coins. Medieval kings diluted silver. Modern governments print paper and digital dollars. This hidden tax on money, called inflation, lets leaders fight wars without asking the people directly to pay the bill. It allows them to shift the cost onto everyone silently as prices rise and savings erode. It's war financed by theft. Think about it. If every citizen had to write a check for their share of the war tomorrow, how many wars would continue? Very few, because the pain would be immediate, the outrage unavoidable. But with money printing, the pain is delayed, hidden, and spread across generations. Now enter Bitcoin, a monetary system with rules that cannot be bent, twisted, or printed away. A system where supply is fixed at 21 million, where no government, no matter how powerful, can create new units out of thin air. In such a world, the cost of war can no longer be hidden in endless debt or inflation. It must be paid for openly, transparently, in scarce money that everyone can see leaving the treasury. And that changes everything. Imagine a government trying to rally support for a new foreign conflict. But instead of silently printing trillions, they must spend real Bitcoin from reserves. The people would watch wallets drain, see funds disappear, and feel the cost directly. War becomes a visible drain on national wealth. Not a vague number in the news, but actual digital scarcity leaving forever. And citizens might ask, is this war really worth it? History shows us that when money is hard, wars shrink. Under the classical gold standard in the 19th century, conflicts were shorter, less frequent, and less total wars were possible, because governments couldn't easily expand the money supply to fund them. But once gold was abandoned, and fiat printing became unlimited, the 20th century exploded with the deadliest wars in human history. World War I, World War II, endless Cold War conflicts, all funded with debt and inflation. So here's the hidden truth most people never hear. It's not just politics or ideology that fuels war. It's money. And if you change the money, you change the wars. Bitcoin exposes the cost of violence. It forces governments to either raise direct taxes or spend real reserves, both of which make war politically unpopular and financially unsustainable. This doesn't mean war disappears forever, but it does mean that wars of choice, endless occupations, and trillion-dollar interventions become far harder to justify. In a Bitcoin world, the margin for reckless aggression shrinks dramatically. Because every Satoshi spent on war is a Satoshi not spent on schools, infrastructure, healthcare, or innovation. And the people will see that trade-off with crystal clarity. But here's where it gets even deeper. Bitcoin doesn't just make war expensive. It could also shift the balance of power between nations. Today, the US dollar holds a special status as the world's reserve currency. This privilege allows America to borrow endlessly, print freely, and project military power far beyond what its economy alone could sustain. If Bitcoin rises to become a neutral global reserve, this advantage vanishes. No nation can endlessly print its way to military dominance. Power must be earned through productivity, trade, and cooperation, not debt and inflation. This would be the greatest leveling of the playing field in human history. A return to a system where strength depends on value creation, not on financial alchemy. And yet, most people never connect Bitcoin to war. They see it as an investment, a speculation, a digital gold. But its real hidden power lies in its ability to break the cycle of endless conflict fueled by money printing. Think about this carefully. If every empire in history has risen and fallen on its money system, what happens when the money system itself becomes incorruptible? No empire can inflate itself to global dominance. No nation can hide the costs of occupation behind a printing press, and war itself becomes subject to the harsh discipline of scarcity. This idea is radical, almost forbidden in mainstream conversation, because it threatens not just banks or politicians, but the very machinery of empire. Bitcoin is not just savings technology, not just a hedge against inflation. It is potentially peace technology, a monetary revolution that makes destructive war too expensive to pursue casually. Of course, this future is not guaranteed. Governments will resist. They will fight to preserve their ability to print and spend without limit. But history shows that sound money always returns, one way or another. The question is not if, but when. And when it does, the world could look profoundly different. A world where war is rare, not because humans suddenly become saints, but because the economics no longer add up. This is the part that few dare to say out loud. Bitcoin could do what peace treaties, diplomacy, and idealism never could. It could attack war at its root by cutting off its financial fuel. Imagine future generations asking, how did you ever allow governments to print infinite money to fund wars? And the answer will be, we didn't. We found a better money. That is the hidden power of Bitcoin, not just protecting your wealth, not just securing your savings, but quietly reshaping the incentives that drive nations to war. And once you see this, once you really understand it, you realize something chilling but hopeful. Bitcoin is not just about profit, it's about survival. This is why elites are nervous. This is why central banks are scrambling to create their own digital currencies. Because they know, once Bitcoin takes root, the printing press as a weapon of war is finished. And when that day comes, when governments can no longer make war invisible through inflation, the world may finally get the peace it always claimed to want, but could never afford. That's the secret they don't want you to know. That's why Bitcoin is far more dangerous to the status quo than most people realize. It's not just money, it's a revolution against endless war. So the next time you hear Bitcoin dismissed as speculation or as magic internet money, remember this hidden truth. It could be the single greatest force for peace humanity has ever discovered. Because when war becomes too expensive, peace becomes the only option left. And that is why understanding Bitcoin isn't just about getting rich. It's about preparing for a future where the rules of power themselves are rewritten. A future that's not inevitable, but possible. If enough people see through the illusion of money printing and embrace the discipline of scarcity. This isn't investment advice. This is human survival advice. Because the real stakes of Bitcoin are not measured in dollars. They are measured in lives saved, wars prevented, and futures secured. So now you know, the knowledge that few ever connect, that Bitcoin could make war too expensive to fight, and in doing so, unlock the greatest peace dividend in history. The question is, will humanity be brave enough to seize it? If you found this perspective eye-opening, if it made you think in ways you never have before, then share it, because this is knowledge the world desperately needs right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help spread these hidden truths. Because the more people understand Bitcoin's deeper impact, the faster we can move toward a world where war is no longer inevitable. Remember, governments won't tell you this. Schools won't teach you this. But here, we dig deeper. Here, we uncover the truths hidden beneath the surface. So hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey. Because together, we're not just stacking sats, we're stacking knowledge that could change the course of history. This has been Bitcoin from First Principles. Thank you for watching, and remember, when the money changes, everything changes.